Today we are going to talk about public relations. It's really interesting when you study public relations, like everybody knows how to do public relations. Like everybody knows how to convince others to do things. It's like everybody is a psychologist, like everybody knows how to understand others and read other people's thought. And we all make mistakes when we think that we are kind of omniscient, that we can understand everything. The same is true for public relations. Like I see public relation personnel and people who participate in these, and they make it so simple. They think that having good relations with clients is good public relations. Yes, but how to develop those relationships? How to develop boundaries between personal relations and professional relations? How to understand your own approach to other people and the way you interact with them, and its difference with how to represent an organization. Because first and foremost, we have to understand that public relations is a corporate profession. Like it has nothing to do with your own personal sympathies or ethics, things like that. It doesn't mean that it doesn't have any ethics at all. It has, but these are its own, and these might be even stronger than your personal ethics. And also, public relations is a continuous process. Like it's kind of a way of life that you manage to develop, like two ways of life. One is your own personal living sphere, the other is your professional one. How do you manage this? And all these things. It's like everybody having some crazy ideas in their mind, think that they understand how Freud might have thought or how psychologists could treat other people, and people start giving people advice about how to live their lives and stuff like that. This happens all the time. Like it's the same in public relations. People think that they have a good smile and they dress well and they look good. It means that they will be successful in representing an organization the way they are able to represent themselves or their families. That's not true. Like organizational public relations is a profession, and it's a process, and it's a lengthy process. It doesn't simply mean that meeting people or issuing press releases is public relations. No, it's not. It's a continuous process. You have to plan for it. And how do you plan for it? Well, first, you have to understand that what are the basic methods of public relations. Like every time you receive a press release, if you are a journalist, somebody is trying to further the interest or image of an institution. And every time you write a press release doesn't mean that you are doing that. You might be writing to clarify something. You might be responding to something. You might be announcing something. Like these actions separately are not seen as public relations. In many institutions, people work in public relations and they think, okay, since I have issued a press release, that's my job. I have organized a press conference, that's my job. I have had lunch with a journalist or with somebody who can build the image of my organization. I have done my job. No, it's not like that. Like throwing darts in the dark is not public relations. I'm saying that because I just come across people every day who tell me how successful public relations they are doing, which they are not. The best amongst them are those who say, I have an office. I said, good. I know people. Good. This is networking, but not public relations. Now, what is public relations? Like public relations needs a simple strategy and a brand to further. Like historically speaking, there were press agents in the Wild West who used to further the interests of a person who used to pay them, like a gold digger or anybody, oil explorator, small time guys. And these are the things, so they just used to further the image of the individual or their interest, not the image of the person. This is what we call a publicist right now. A publicist takes care of a client's needs, whether these are right or wrong. He or she will push the agenda. Public relations, on the other hand, could be seen as, it's really interesting that somebody who began public relations was a relative of Sigmund Freud, and it was an ad campaign that he did, and the video is available if anybody needs. I can give them a link. It's a TED talk about public relations. But what he did was that he had to organize a concert and sell tickets for a singer in the US who was not even well known in the US. So, and he had to do it in London. So he went there, and what he did was that he painted a naked picture of the singer and sent it to Piccadilly, and then made it possible that the truck breaks down. And then what happened was that he was able to get the attention of what we call a stupid majority, parents. They were really annoyed, so they told their kids, teenagers, youngsters, not to attend this concert. The smart minority, as he called it, disobeyed their parents, and the concert sold really well. So these are the kind of smart minorities and stupid majorities that we look for. And parents are not stupid, I am a parent too. But it's like one way of doing it. You want to sell something, you brand something in a way where you find people who won't like it, and then you annoy them, and those who don't like them are your actual target group, so they will just come to you and follow your advice only because they didn't like the majority. And that happens all the time. We see in political campaign, like right now you see PDM and PTI pitted against each other on Twitter and Facebook and social media. You don't see much sense, but what you see, if somebody says something against one organization, one political group, the people who dislike that group will just say the opposite, and this is how it's working. But that's not all. That's one of the ways of doing that. A good public relation campaign, as they say, is based on truth. Like it's based on facts, and it needs a campaign. It's not a one-time activity. You begin with something, is that you develop a plan, which is a strategic plan also. So most of the time strategic communication and public relations have the same aims. But here strategic communication might be of a limited time span, but public relation campaigns are long term. So for example, if you are working for an organization and your job is to do public relations for them, you draw a plan. You see the strengths and weaknesses of your organization. Your job is two ways. You advise your bosses who are paying you that there are issues that they need to mend and make sure that these are corrected, and there are others that they can advance. Then you brand the institution. You know what the strengths are, and you also know what the weaknesses are. So you create a brand. For example, you say, like, it's easier to do this for sports teams and stuff like that, for celebrities. That's why they have managers. But for organizations, like, for example, for a university, if you do it for a university, you have to make a plan. You have to show what does the university offer basically, and how does it differ from other universities. So you will just devise a campaign around the strength, and then you say, this is a brand. Like, this is the oldest institution in Lahore, for example. If you want to speak about FC College, for example, variety. So you'll say, okay, it's one of the earliest institutions, and then it has such famous alumni, and this is what it offers. And current is very important. Currently, this is what they're doing. You don't focus on the past too much. You just go through it and you say, here is the campaign. So here is the context. That's who we are, and how. That's what we are offering right now. Don't say any bad things about the other people. Just focus on your good and try to focus on that. It's not advertising. Advertising also doesn't work with blaming others, but still it does work. In public relations, you just focus on your own good. And then when you get the message through, when getting the message through is that most people understand as public relations, like issuing a press release, having a presser, doing a press conference, inviting journalists or other celebrities, having photo shoots. That's basically the instrument. That's not the idea. The idea is behind it. So every time you do such things, you should know, why are you issuing a press release? What is the core message that you want to convey? The event is not the core message, but it's a campaign. So you are moving a message, an event, but you are putting it into a larger context where the image is built, and then you throw messages, you write them within the print material, audio material, video material, anything that you issue. Even if you print your syllabus and offer it to students, they buy it, so they know what they are buying. They are buying the institution. You have to keep in mind that every public relations instrument or packet that you offer is selling the institution. It's not selling that thing. Like students don't buy admissions, they buy institution. So you sell institutions. And then at the same time, you also get feedback. It's a two-way street that you keep on. So people respond to the way you build an image, and you make sure that you know that also, that inflow is always at work. So once that inflow is working, you have to advise your bosses, whosoever you are serving, that here are the complaints. That's where people might, that's where, as they say, the shoe might be pinching. You have to address that, and then your job is to convey to the audiences, which could be students, which could be parents, which could be society, which could be higher education institutions or authorities in higher education, government. And see, here it is. We got that message, and we thought that this is how we acted. This is how we can't. Transparency is one of the basic principles of public relations. Now, transparency is very different than the way we see it in a simple idea. Well, transparency means what are the areas which are important to be shown, and you have to really consult many people. You don't go on your own. Never, if you are a public relations official and somebody trusts you with their institutional image, make sure that you don't go without any proper preparation, and you don't go on your own. Like, you have to consult, take permissions, and then do it. Because the importance of a public relations personnel or department in any institution is based upon the goodwill that they create within and without. So within is that you should be taken as somebody who listens, who understands, and who's empathic. Not like somebody who's just on a spree, he has an old mission. So beware of your own missions, basically. You shouldn't be furthering your own agendas, no matter how noble these are. It's important to understand that corporate public relations are image building processes, and it's a two-way street. You build an image, but you also advise. Institutions that integrate public relations professionals and public relations departments in the earlier decision-making processes and seek their advice are always successful. Institutions that take public relations professionals as useless instruments that are there, and whenever they get in trouble, they ask them to come over and solve the issue, are always losers. So for a good institution, for any good organization, for any good corporate body, public relations professionals and their advice, at least at the advice level, should be heard. If any organization that does that brands itself well, and it makes the job of the public relations professional easier, but it also makes the job of the organization easier, and also of the clients easier, because they know what the organization is, and then it multiplies. So the last word is that although we might be doing many things that seem like public relations, it's a profession. In the same way that we might be curing patients who are gone out of their mind and think that we are psychologists or psychiatrists, that's not true. We are not. In the same way, you are not a public relations person if you have simply learned to write a press release or to organize tables and chairs for a press conference. You have to learn it. Thank you.